Wow. I like it.
Welcome to Time Freedom Daily. Here we're going to talk about business, time freedom, some crypto, the markets. The one thing we're not is financial advisors, so please do not take us as financial advisors. And here's my partner in crime, Chris Adam.
Hey, guys.
Excellent.
Remember
So
to,
we're going to start out this week just talking about what's going on in the markets, some ideas of how to grow a business if you're in it, how to get started in a business if you're not, what a side hustle is, what a side hustle can help with. But for the first couple of streams, we're going to take time and just kind of interview each other just so you guys know who you're going to be having in your audience and who's going to be talking to you on our videos each and every day. So today I'm going to take some time and I'm going to interview Mr. Chris Adam. So Chris, I just want you to start out by telling the crowd what you're all about. Just tell us a little bit about something about you.
Yeah, absolutely. This is very cool for I know both of us. I don't want to speak for both of us, but I know we both love encouraging people to step outside of that comfort box and find time freedom. That's what obviously we're here to talk about. So yeah, remember to like the video. Helps the algorithm, helps other people see this. Recommend people to it. We're going to be talking about a lot of stuff going forward, motivational ideas, all kinds of cool stuff. So make sure you subscribe to the channel. And if you see that little bell down below, click the red bell so you'll know when new videos are out. And we're going to, improve as you will as time goes on. Okay.
Absolutely. So, Chris, where'd you start from? Where are we at? Give us a little synopsis of where we're coming from and where we're at today.
Well, it's funny. I grew up with entrepreneurial parents and parents that had a real job. And so when I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, where he talks about his two dads, and one dad was very highly educated and one dad wasn't really educated at all, but was always a hustler and entrepreneurial, that struck a lot with me because I grew up with parents on both sides of that fence. And I always admired the entrepreneurial life and the ability to work on your schedule and on your time and on your feeling. It doesn't mean we don't work. We work very hard, but we work differently. And that inspired me. And, I knew when I was in college, I was like, man, I'm going to be a terrible employee. And, thankfully that stuck with me because I went and got a real job and did the whole real job thing. And that's important. I don't think we'd ever say anything bad about people that have a job and love what they do and dig their job. And that's great. I didn't, the whole time I'd be at my job, even though I enjoyed my jobs and I was very successful at them. I was like, man, I want my time. I would rather be mountain biking. And then once I had kids, then it was all over because my kids are everything. I want to be with my kids every day and 24/7. I love being able to pick them up from school and drop them off to school. And when they don't have school, we hang out. And so that was a huge driving force with me to figure out some other answers where I didn't have to have a 9 to 5 or 9 to 6 or 8 to 6 or 8 to 7, because that's how it ends up going.
Awesome. So that leads me right into the next question. What was that turning point? Where were you at? Can you remember that point where you were like, you know what, 9 to 5 is not for me? And tell me a little bit about what that first experience was.
Yeah, I remember that point almost to the day, and that was a long time ago. That was probably 20 years ago, and I had done very well in my career. I was in corporate America, and I had gotten promoted. They had actually moved me. I'm in South Florida. They had actually moved me to New York City to run an operation in New York City. And it was great. I went up to New York for 4.5, I think almost 5 years. And it was fantastic. And they were trying to promote me again. And it was really at that point where I was like, man, I don't want my boss's job. And then I was like, well, maybe I can stick it out for another couple of years until another promotion. And I was like, I don't want his boss's job either. And that was a huge point for me. I was like, what am I doing? Like, I looked at my 5-year trajectory and 7-year trajectory down the road, and I was like, I just didn't see me in that role. And I've always believed in living pretty small, living under my budget, living, being able to save my money. And I had saved up enough to leave corporate America and open my first restaurant, which I did about 15 years ago. And I'll save that story for another episode, but that was my first jump.
Excellent. So before the next question, I just want to share with our viewers here, and we're going to also talk about like financing 101, like just basic financial literacy. A lot of the things that a lot of people don't know, they don't teach it in school, and we're going to try to break down the basics. Again, not financial advisors. These are things that we've learned along the way, education that we've done, not formally, but through books and through, people like Robert Kiyosaki from Rich Dad Poor Dad, and understanding, how to maximize our time with the money that we make. And Chris, you hit on a great point there. To be successful financially, the first thing you have to do, the first and foremost thing you have to do, is you have to find out what you make and spend less. I mean, it's so hard for so many people to understand that, but it's what we need to do, is spend less than we make and figure out a way to put away some of that money into something that's going to earn yield or an interest over time. So, talking about, you're leaving corporate America, were you scared in leaving? The comfort of that 9-to-5 job, and tell me about how that transition was.
Of course. It's a scary thing, but it's funny because one of the comments I hear all the time is about how entrepreneurial I am. And people always ask, like, I could never do that. And I hear that a lot, and I get it. There's a lot of comfort in staying with where you're at. And once you're on this side, we always talk about your comfort zone will kill you, and sometimes, like for me, it had just gotten to the point where it wasn't even a question anymore. So yeah, I was scared, but it was also, I was more scared of what would happen if I stayed, because it had gotten to the point where I just knew, the option wasn't staying, the option was going. But give us an example of your jumping point. I know we want to save a lot of these questions for another stream. So why don't you give us a little introduction and tell us about your jumping point?
Absolutely. So, I grew up with a family that was divorced. I grew up in a family that I was loved, but unfortunately my stepfather didn't have those types of feelings for me. So he was really, really hard on me. When I was 8 years old, he used to drive a tractor trailer, and he used to park it at our house in New Jersey. And when he got home, he would go in the house. He said, "Okay, you're up." And he literally would make me the whole weekend wash the tractor and trailer myself as an 8-year-old. So it was really tough. I come back in with pieces of a Brillo pad stuck in my fingers, and it was not a fun time. So I learned very, very early hard work. And after my mom saw kind of the abuse, she called my dad in Pennsylvania, and I went and lived with him. And he was a super hard worker. Unfortunately, he had some issues with alcohol, and so I was alone a lot and fending for myself. So I had to cook for myself, do my own laundry. We were kind of struggling in a little apartment, and I had to learn quickly, when the snow came, I had to go grab a shovel, and I had to go snow shovel to put some money in my pocket. In the summertime, it was, whatever money I saved in the wintertime, I went and bought lawn equipment, and I went out and cut grass. This was like 12, 13 years old. I had a paper route in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning before school. So hustling was a part of my being from very, very early on. And I was also athletic. So coming out of 8th grade, I was ranked as an 8th grade basketball player, and I got a scholarship to one of the private schools. in the area, and kind of going to school at a private school as a poor kid. It was kind of like my vision board, what the things that I wanted, the things that I could never have, the BMWs, the Mercedes, the stuff like that. So I was fighting every day, not fighting physically, but just fighting to get ahead.
Right.
So it was during those times that I did whatever I could, I thought it was sports that was going to take me to the next level. When that didn't happen, it was back to the drawing board. And my family was in the casino industry in Atlantic City. And so I learned how to deal craps and blackjack. So I worked in Atlantic City for a few years, and I moved to Florida to work on the casino boats. But then the casino boats kept closing down. So I had to figure out what was next. So I started a landscape business because that's what I did when I was growing up. Yeah. And I grew that, and then it didn't work out. And so it was a lot of just failures and going on to the next thing. And I always was looking for a side hustle. Different network marketing companies, different ideas, things I could do on the internet, blah, 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 blah. And all my friends were always making fun of me that, oh my gosh, John's doing something new again. John, if you just focused on one thing and be good at it, you're going to be successful. And for me, I didn't see it that way. I saw it as, no, I know what I'm worth. Mm-hmm. I know that if I'm in corporate America or a job, I'm going to hit a ceiling. I'm going to go so far. And then I'm kind of capped out. Yeah. So a lot of the jobs that I had gotten, as I became an adult, was in sales, because I could figure out if I sold more, I could make more money. So that's where I was. And, all along the way, trying things on the side to see if it worked, it didn't work. A lot of them didn't work. But, Winston Churchill says, to be successful, it's your ability to go on from failure to failure to failure without losing enthusiasm. And I never lost enthusiasm. I always was willing to try one last thing. Even to the detriment of some arguments in my household where, my significant other, my wife, was saying, why are we spending money on this? That last one didn't work. And, after so many things that didn't work, we found something that did. And it literally changed my life, and that allowed me to do other things. The most important thing that I feel has really catered to the success of where I am today is never getting comfortable. Right? It's the trap of getting caught in that comfort zone and staying there because it's easy. Is the detriment to so many people's dreams. Mm-hmm. So many people's dreams go to death in the cemetery because they became comfortable. And I've never been comfortable. I've always been looking for that next thing. So, that's kind of me in a nutshell. But I wanted to just jump on and ask you this next question as I was talking about, failing. Chris, what was your biggest failure? And tell me what you learned from it.
It's funny. I don't think most people would consider it a failure. But I consider it one of my biggest learning points was staying in the restaurant business too long. And again, I'll probably explain that a lot more in another video. But, I had the chance to get out probably 4 or 5 years before I did for considerably more money. But it was I had started to treat this business that I had as almost as a child. And that's a mistake. A business is just a business. And when, somebody really wanted them, I had a couple restaurants at that time, and I had the option to get out. And I did. And I took a lot of pride in what we did. And I do love that. But, one of the lessons that I talk about now, and again, we'll go over this more in more depth, is watch what business you're starting, because that is also going to be your future. And I didn't realize that even though I owned my restaurants, they became my new trap. It was, instead of corporate America, now I was working for me in these restaurants. I still couldn't go away. I still had to show up. I started missing family vacations. I started missing time, even though they were my businesses. They were still a trap, because it was a place. It was a place I had to be at. It was a place I had to go to. And that was, when we talk about maybe a failure or a learning experience, is when I didn't sell and I continued, I started to become resentful of those businesses and the time they were taking away. And then when I finally kind of learned about the importance of time freedom, and none of us are getting any younger, by that time it had become too late, and I had to, just get out of the restaurants, because I was just kind of done with them at that point in time. But, that was what I consider a failure.
For sure. So we're going to be a resource channel here. We're going to be here to provide people with quick and easy information to just tap into, so they don't got to go find it in the 50 or 60 books that we've read and some of the things. And we're going to give credit where credit's due when there's information that we've learned and where we learned it from. But Chris, what your biggest resource when it comes to some of the knowledge that you've gained? Is it just experience? Is it give me something that your biggest resource and what you found?
Experience is a big one. Trying stuff. Your first business is probably not going to be the winner that you think it is. Like I said, I was like a lot of people, thinking, of opening that restaurant and then opening a second and opening a third, which I did. But, I quickly realized it never got easier. It just became more and more fires that I had to put out. Experience is a big thing, but also, I learned from my mom very early on that what you feed, not only yourself, but what you feed your brain is very, very important. And so instead of sitting at home and watching reality TV, I would, if I'm watching something, I will watch something very inspirational, whether it's on YouTube or Netflix, or reading a book. I listen to audiobooks, truthfully. I'll put them on in the car. Instead of listening to the radio, I'll listen to audiobooks. Instead of listening to songs and music and people argue, I'll listen to an audiobook. Like I said, like Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I love Zig Ziglar. Right now I'm listening to a book called The 4-Hour Workweek, which I loving that book. Think and Grow Rich, of course, all the classics, How to Win Friends and Influence People, those are incredible. I will listen to them every 6 months, every year. So your brain starts to build up that muscle memory, but it really changes the way that you think on a daily basis and the way you go into things. And so, I find inspiration in a lot of different places in a lot of different ways. But like you said, a lot of it is trying stuff and failing and just learning where it's going to go. And sometimes the biggest win is something you never counted on at all, something you just fall into, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, this is cool.
Right. Excellent. Yeah. So, that really kind of, you really tapped into, my next question, which is kind of just tell the viewers two of your biggest influences. Is it people like that? Is it somebody closer to you and your family? Just share two of your biggest influencers in your life.
My mom would definitely be one, because she became, my parents got divorced and she became a single mom. I think I was 8 or 9-ish and my brother was 6 or 7-ish. And all of a sudden she was raising us alone, and she had been working 9 to 5 at Ford Motor Company. She ended up going to a Mary Kay meeting, and she was like, yeah, I can do this. And kind of like what we tell people, don't quit your 9 to 5, but definitely think about a 5 to 9. And that's what she did. And so she'd work her 9 to 5, come grab my brother and I from, I think, my grandma's house, and she would come home and she would start working her 5 to 9 business, which was building her Mary Kay business. And within about a year, that had become big enough that she was able to quit her 9 to 5 and then focus on that. And, that was huge. And it was very eye-opening for me to see. And I think that's one of the things that that'll be a topic that comes up a lot, is a lot of people, if you've never had that eye-opening experience, if your parents have only ever worked 9-to-5s and corporate jobs, then that's what you're used to. Thankfully, I saw that transition, and so it was a little bit easier for me to become an entrepreneur because I had seen it work so well. So she was definitely a huge inspiration. And I don't really have one other inspiration in my life. Like I said, I mean, I follow you, you John. I follow a lot. I'm not one of those people. I don't get jealous of somebody else's success. I want to learn how they did it, and I it's more out of admiration. I'm like, wow, like look how well this person's doing. They have time at home. They play with their kids. They're on vacations every month. Like, I want that. Let me find out how they did it. And so I take inspiration from a lot of different places. I'm definitely not afraid to say I'm constantly learning. I learn every day. So,
Awesome. So look, if there was a question that I should have asked that I didn't, what should it be?
I don't know. You know what? I think, I'm sure it'll come up. That's why I love these channels. I love actually YouTube channels. I've really gotten into the last year. And one of the reasons I love this is because people like you and I can come on here and every day we can talk about something else. And if there are questions that come up, we'll keep notes and we'll start going over those things. But I think that'll be part of the fun, is chatting every day. And you guys in the chat, send us a chat if there's questions that you have for either one of us. If there's a business you're thinking of and you want our take on it, if you're investing in crypto or stocks, same thing, like, bounce those things off of us, because 2 or 3 or 4 heads is always better than one. So, I think that'll be the exciting part of going forward.
Awesome. So Chris, as you know, one of the main things that we're going to try to do at least one time a week is bring on somebody here and interview them, whether they're an entrepreneur, whether they're, anything. We want to find people that we can bring information and experiences to our viewership. And this is a question, it's going to be our signature question that we're going to ask each and every one of them. It really rings to our channel name, Time Freedom Daily. Please tell me what freedom means to you.
Absolutely. Were you asking me, or are you just saying that's the question that we're going to ask?
Absolutely. No, I want to know what freedom means to you, man.
For me, that was pretty huge. The ability to not have to be somewhere, and that's that is key. And I talk to a lot of people that know me from the restaurant world, and they want to start a restaurant or start a cafe, and that's the big warning I always give, because that excitement of it's going to be cool. I'm going to be able to shake customers' hands. I'm going to walk in. I'm going to be the restaurant owner or the cafe owner. That excitement is going to wear out. And 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years down the road, are you still going to be happy having to go to that place? And so freedom for me is, I think Warren Buffett says it all the time. If you're not making money in your sleep, then you better figure out how to make money in your sleep, because that is your future. For me, that was definitely my future. I don't want to have to go to a business, whether it's a store or a restaurant, or I spent a lot of time in retail as well. Even though they were my places and I wasn't in corporate America, I didn't necessarily have a boss. I became my own boss, and that was not freedom. So freedom for me is the ability to make money wherever I'm at. If I'm in Mexico with the kids and I'm still profitable, that's freedom. My ability to do what I want to do. You go to the gym twice a day. I go mountain biking every day. That was my goal in life, and that's kind of what I'm teaching my kids.
Excellent. So, look, to the people that are listening, we don't have very many listeners right now. That we're gonna grow that for sure. But we want this page to be a resource to whoever wants to learn from experience, from failures, from even the victories. A lot of people, we don't learn from our victories, but we can share the victories that we finally attained with the people that in our viewership, that will be able to maybe bypass some of the rough parts and get to that next level that they're looking to level up to quicker. So, Chris, is there any last words you want to end with today?
I think what you and I got to get good at is reminding people to hit that like button, reminding people to hit the subscribe button and click that little alert bell so you can hear from us every day. And yeah, thanks for joining us, and we'll talk to you guys soon.
Take care, guys.